Welcome back. This is Jeff on Let's Go Low with our radio show right here in the great Tampa Bay area. Thanks for tuning in every Saturday morning and supporting the show, brought to you by Golfers Unite. We got Mike Hicks coming back for our second segment. And Mike, we're going to talk about what do the golf addicts do after this FedEx Championship playoff tours. And there's still a lot of golf left for them, isn't there?
Events, I guess, and 3 out of the country, 2 in Mexico, 1 in Japan. We used to play in Vegas, that's gone now. Used to play in Jackson, Mississippi, that's gone now. Used to play in Napa, California, that's gone now. So they've replaced those tournaments with a tournament in Japan and then 2 in Mexico. So it's the fall was always, sporadic anyway. You were all over the place. So, it's for those guys that are still trying to, crack that top 100.
Right.
So, it'll be some intense golf. A lot of guys playing for their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So, before we dive into some of the fall stuff for all those people kind of wondering what happens on the playoffs, so let's recap what do we got coming up here. We got the FedEx St. Jude Championship, and that's going to be at the TPC Southwind in Memphis, that 70-player field format. So from there, the 50 players move on to the BMW Championship in St. Louis. And then from there, we have our tour champion, which is going to be at East Lake in Atlanta with the top 30 players, and kind of the season wraps up then. So the top 50 coming out of the players also are locked in and for their tour card for next year. But golfers, after the tour championship, don't forget, we got a big one coming up that, a lot of golf lovers love, and that's the President Cup. And that's going to be at Medina outside of Chicago towards the end of September, the 24th to the 27th. So we got Brent Snedeker as the captain of the U.S. against Jeff Ogilvy of the international team. So, Mike, you've been a part of President's Cups and stuff like that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, your experience? We're talking with Mike Hicks from MikeHicksGolf.com. Mike was Payne Stewart's former caddy and knows a lot about the President's Cup. So what are your thoughts on that event?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of a letdown after you've, worked Ryder Cups. That whole thing, the President's Cup was created by the PGA Tour because they saw how much money the PGA of America was making at a Ryder Cup. And, and there was some barking, so to speak, from the other international countries. They wanted to play in something. So they created this President's Cup thing. And, like I said, I got mixed emotions about it. I have worked a couple of them, but I wasn't a big fan because it's, we win every time, so it's never really it's not much of a contest. I don't know, what of the international team, have they won once?
I believe so.
One time out of however many they played. Yep. I actually caddied in the first one for the international team. I caddied for David Frost. I think that was 93. Is that right?
I have to go by your recollection, Mike.
I think it was 93 was the first one. And I caddied for David Frost. Now, I'll never forget, we showed up there. I was caddying for him for a couple of weeks. Payne was in a neck brace at the time, so I was just trying to fill in weeks. So I caddied for David for 3 weeks. I think Grand Blanc, Michigan was one, and then the Canadian Open, and then the next week was the President's Cup. And it was in Manassas, Virginia. And I show up there, and I walk the course on Monday. And I get done walking the course, and I come down to the range. David's down there hitting golf balls. And I said, David, I'm not walking this course for less than $5,000 this week. He looked at me like I was an alien. He said, "What?" in that South African voice. He said, "I cannot pay you that." I said, "Well, you're going to have to get somebody else." I said, "I'm not walking this place for less than $5,000 this week." Because it was a cart course. I mean, it wasn't set up for walking, bro. I mean, this thing was, it probably was 10 miles around this joint. And I knew I was going to be going twice. Because back in those days, it was the same Ryder Cup, same as the Ryder Cup format. So I knew I was doing 36 holes. And so he thought about it a little bit. He says, "Okay, I'll give you the 5,000, but don't tell anybody."
Oh, that's a great story. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Brett Snedeker? This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, the Big 8, and all over the internet. We put this up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go to YouTube and just search up Golfers Unite, you can check this out. What do you think about Brent? I mean, he actually played pretty well at the Rocket. You know, once again, he still can hit the ball great. He seems to be like kind of
yeah. I mean, he's having a great year. I mean, he's finally healthy, and I love Sneds. Great guy. He'll be a good captain. He's a patriot. You know, he'll be very competitive as a captain, and he'll be a great leader. So it was a good choice picking Sneds. But like I said, I mean, the competition is really,
it's the people fighting for the tour card, right? So
yeah.
what we discovered is that, basically what happens is, there's tour cards still available, after. So, it's not locked to the 100 after the playoffs. Only 70 are locked. So spots 71 through 100 get decided across the fall series. And, nobody really kind of covers that. So there's a lot of guys out there fighting for, those spots in the fall. So it's competitive golf still, just not big names that you might not be used to.
Well, yeah, all the guys that'll be on that President's Cup team, once they finish the playoffs, more than likely they'll play the week before or maybe 2 weeks before. I don't know what the schedule is, but they'll probably all show up and play just to get some, the rust off. Because if they don't, they're going to be off for like a month.
Well, Biltmore is actually, the Biltmore Championship in Asheville at the Cliffs is the weekend before.
Yeah, so we all know what happened in France when the Ryder Cup team took 5 weeks off and showed up without playing any competition for 5 weeks. They got drilled. So these guys, in golf you have to play. I mean, you have to stay sharp mentally, competitively. You have to play. So I would imagine they'll probably play that week. If I had to guess, that most of those guys that are on that President's Cup team will play in Asheville just to get some rust off.
Yes, and they'll keep, you said, keep it fresh, and then the President's Cup, and then we go to Utah for the Utah Championship in early October. One event, and there's actually 8 FedEx Cup fall events, September through November. So we got the Biltmore in Asheville, and that's the September 17th, and we got the President's Cup the weekend after, the 24th through the 27th. There's one in here that's kind of interesting to me, and maybe we can talk briefly about it. It's the Good Championship in Barton Creek in Austin. It's brand new, and it's sponsored by YouTube. And Good is a brand that was kind of built on YouTube. You know what I mean? And around these players. What do you think about like them? Having their own tour event, the Good Championship.
Well, I mean, it's where, I mean, look, my 21-year-old son, that's all he watches is the YouTube golf, watches these YouTubers, so that generation, that's their entertainment, is watching this YouTube golf and the TGL stuff. I mean, I never watched one episode of that TGL stuff, the indoor golf. So I don't even know how that all works, but that's
it's a great story.
that's the generation we're in now. I mean, that's how they like watching their golf. And so I can see it. I mean, it's good. Hey, the guys that are trying to keep their job are loving it.
Right.
Somebody stepped up and sponsored an event.
Yeah, and I think maybe next episode or something like that for next week, we'll talk a little bit how, TGL kind of weaves its way into, this fall and winter golf, and, the simulator golf world is continuing to boom, and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that. But, it's great, great for the good brand, YouTube brand, that grew from just this internet fandom into an actual tour event, and it's going to be the first one held at Omni Barton Creek in Austin, which hasn't been down there since 2023, since the match play event died. But this is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 with our good friend Mike Hicks, Mike Hicks Golf. If you guys have a special event, a golf outing or something like that, Mike is open to, maybe coming in and being a keynote speaker for you. You can check it out at MikeHicksGolf.com. Again, MikeHicksGolf.com. And always, this episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite, GolfersUnite.com. Check out the hookups. We're bringing more great content, including The Read, which is a kind of a syndicated content around golf. And we are also going to be launching our what we call the down low, and that's a bunch of real rates published on real golf courses that are verified. That's golfersunite.com. So, Mike, as we kind of wrap up for this episode, let's talk a little bit about where everything kind of ends. That's the RSM Classic in Sea Island. I've been to Sea Island. I played Frederica. I've played Sea Island, and some great golf there. So RSM Classic's been around for a while. Have you had a chance to, play that course, Sea Island?
Oh yeah, I've worked that tournament many times. Great venue, great. What a way to end the year, man. It couldn't be in a more, laid back, great golf course. Very difficult golf course. When the wind's blowing. Good spot. Love it down there. A lot of tour players live in Sea Island. So it's a great venue to end the season on.
And a great resort. The Cloister Hotel there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fantastic. We've stayed there a few times and loved every minute of being there. And Sea Island is a fantastic place. Lots of golf there. I mean, you got Jekyll Island, you got Sea Island, and you got some fantastic private courses, including Frederica. So if you're thinking about maybe booking a trip, sometime, definitely put Sea Island on your bucket list there to check out. And on our last week's episode, we actually Mike talked about preparing yourself for a golf trip and getting ready for one. So check that out. It's on YouTube. Just search Golfers Unite. You can check out episode 22 and preparing, I think it's segment 2, preparing for a golf trip with Mike Hicks. So Mike, we got another minute left, and we're kind of winding up towards the end of the season. Who do you kind of like in the playoffs? Just, maybe your top 3 or something that you're keeping an eye on, to win the FedEx Cup.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, you look at Billy Horschel a couple of years or a few years ago, somebody can get hot, win a couple of them. They're all great players, and, who knows? Like I said, somebody gets hot for 3 weeks, they win the FedEx Cup. So, who knows who's going to do it? The obvious guys. I mean, Scotty will be right there. Rory won't play until the finals probably. So your top guys will probably contend. But like I said, anybody can win it if you get hot for 3 weeks.
Exactly. Well, Mike, thanks for coming in. This is Jeff Stanislow. You just listened to another episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 every Saturday morning on the Big 8, 820 in Tampa. Definitely check out golfersunite.com and MikeHicksGolf.com. That's MikeHicksGolf.com and golfersunite.com. Thanks again, Tampa. Until next week.